Thinking about selling your Flower Mound home, but worried it might just sit on the market? Well, that's exactly what happened to a seller that we recently helped. Their home had sat on the market for months with another agent, no valid offers, not many showings, and they were up against a deadline and they had to get it sold. They were so frustrated. Well, in this video, we're going to share with you the costly mistake that caused their home to stall out, what we did to help them get things turned around, and how you can avoid it when it comes time to sell.
Well, the main problem is simple. The house was not selling, and they were very frustrated because had their backs against the wall with a timing issue, and they're wondering, why is my home not selling? When we did a deep dive, there were several factors that were pretty glaring of why they were not receiving an offer to get their home sold. The home sat next to a busy street that was slated to be expanded sometime soon. And also the other thing was there was an open pasture across that road that was slated for development. So that was putting some concern in the buyer's mind or hesitation for even bringing an offer to them. And here's the thing, as a seller, you've got to put yourself in the buyer's shoes of how they're looking at it, at the property, meaning that as you put yourself in their shoes, you've got to be considering how much value does your home bring to them, and also what are some of the other factors that potentially could be causing a buyer not to bring an offer.
Well, we're Bret and Molly Chance, owners of a local boutique brokerage here in Flower Mound. And with the Texas Home Life Experience, which is our signature method that we've created from 20 plus years of experience, we're helping homeowners get their home sold with less stress and less time for more money than the average agent. See, when homes aren't selling, it's not just about the market. There are reasons why. And that's exactly what we helped uncover with this seller.
When the seller came to us, we knew the home could sell. It just had to be repositioned in the market properly. Positioning a property on the market is making sure that it's placed right where the qualified, motivated buyers are looking, to making sure that the home will sell. And it's not just one thing, it's a combination of different factors that go into that.
Right. So let's talk about those factors that go into positioning. And what is the first one?
Well, the first one is definitely price that has to be considered, because the price, the buyers are looking, with that far as, okay, how much can I get for my money? Because they're comparing all the other properties for sale on the market of what is going to offer them the most features and benefits for the least amount of money. And that's what whole value in the eyes of the buyer, of value of market.
Which means also when they're setting a price, it's not just any price. Like, you don't just pull a number out of the air of, oh, I'd like to have this price, or I think it should sell for this price. It actually has to be backed by data of what other homes are selling in the market most recently, what homes are currently for sale for. There's actually some data that needs to back that price so that it's going to be seen by the right people.
Exactly, because it's not, the real estate agents don't determine what market value is just because they feel like a property is worth X amount, whatever that is. It has to be, backed by data from recent sales, say in the last, 90 days to 180 days, in trending the market. Is it going up? Is it going down? Or is it stable? And not only that, once you do get a buyer that's under contract, that property has to appraise for the bank to issue that loan. If not, then that's a whole round of issues that have to be addressed at that point.
Right. And even with the higher end homes, a luxury market, even though there aren't homes exactly like that home that you can compare to, you do price banding. It's a whole different level of understanding price and value at that level. So there still has to be some strategy behind that. It's not just a number that you pick out of the air.
Exactly. Because the thing is, the buyers today are so savvy because of looking at everything online, because they're looking at properties for months before they even contact an agent. And generally, when the buyer comes to us or to their agent, they've got a short list of homes they want to look at, and they're ready to put that offer in. So you're competing with multiple homes at any given time.
So let's move into the second piece of positioning, which is presentation. Presentation means it can be, the staging. It can be how it's presented online. It can be those little updates that have been done. It's how a buyer feels whenever they see that property. And so positioning it is so critical. And staging doesn't just have to mean completely bringing in new furniture unless it's vacant potentially, but it could mean just pulling some things out to make sure that square footage is seen, because The buyer wants to see the square footage of the house. They don't want to see a cluttered home, or a home that looks like somebody else has lived there for 30 years. And that's the thing that we talk about a lot, is how you live in your home is not how a buyer is going to buy your house. And I think sometimes sellers and homeowners, even us, we have a hard time wrapping our mind around that. But you have to kind of unattach your emotion from the home and realize it's now a product that you're putting on the market, and it needs to attract that right buyer. It's no longer, you kind of have to say, it's no longer my home that we've lived in for X amount of time. Even though it's an emotional thing, sometimes for people, you have to be able to clear out the personal effects and stage it as in it's kind of in a magazine, So
Yeah, because people are they look on Pinterest for so many different things. So there's been some homes we've jokingly said, "Oh, well, that looks like a Pinterest home," because it shows like a model home. And the thing is, the buyers coming in, they've got to be able to see their stuff in the home, not the seller
right.
stuff. And I know that's kind of a tough pill to swallow for some people because they lived there for a long time. And the thing is, that goes along with any price point, because I've seen it, or we've both seen it through all different price points of that. And also the other part of the presentation is making sure you have great professional photos, because your first showing is online. And then if the buyers are interested, then they're going to be coming in on that second showing for the physical showing.
So let's move on into the third piece of this, which is competition.
Yeah, as far as competition, that's a lot of times sellers don't realize that once they put their home on the market, it is a commodity. So now you're competing with all other homes in the area that are for sale. So you've got to be able to, talk about the position it to where you're going to win that competition, where it looks like it's offering the best value that is out there. It's there to win the competition. And it's, nothing personal or anything like that. It's just a matter of fact of you're in that competition to win it.
Let's go into the next piece, which is marketing, which to me also kind of follows into the presentation. Marketing is so critical because you're telling the story of the home. And I think so many agents, quite honestly, miss this piece because there is a specific buyer for every home. And you have to understand that to be able to market it well. And you have to understand what they're looking for, where they are, so that you can put it in those places whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. And you have to be able to put in the description and the story of the property those things to really bring out those features, those unique things about that home that's attractive to that specific buyer. Because I think so often that's missed, and some people get lost in just a sea of homes, like they're just swiping, scrolling, and you have to make them stop in their tracks and go, whoa. And so we were talking earlier about a lot of times you'll just see, front photos of homes. And sometimes, quite honestly, front facades of homes are just not that impressive. Some are, but you have to make sure, if you've got just a few seconds to capture someone online that's searching, put the best photo up there. If, like we were talking earlier, we just recently sold a house in Highland Village, and it was a beautiful home. And the front facade was beautiful, but the backyard was the money shot. And so we had to put that piece first. That's what really drew people into that home. It was an impressive home overall, but the backyard piece was it. And that's ultimately what sold the house. But you have to know how to connect with your buyer through marketing. It's one of the reasons why we've spent a lot of time and money on understanding marketing. We partner with the best of the best when it comes to real estate marketing in general, so that we understand how to do that.
Well, exactly, because the whole marketing piece of, again, you got the professional photos to be able to really show those the key features of the home. Because I've seen in all price points, okay, well, you can tell if somebody's taken it with their iPhone or not. And it's doing such a great disservice to that seller, because they're not, one, getting the proper angles to sell the property, but two, not showing or highlighting the home in a great light, or the best possible light, to attract those buyers coming in. And the other part of that is the marketing is positioning also with the pricing, because it goes hand in hand. Because when those buyers see that great value, what you're bringing to offer, they're going to compete for it, because buyers will not compete for an overpriced property. They will compete for something that they feel like is a great value to them.
Right. And that's kind of one thing I want to jump back to on pricing, because some people, they're concerned about if we price it too low, we're going to leave money on the table. But what we've seen and what studies have shown time and time again, you really can't underprice a property. If you position it right, even, you're going to create this like chaos, this like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my gosh, we have to go see this house. Did you see like all it has for this price? You're going to drive that price up, and it's going to sell for where market value is, because ultimately market value is whatever a buyer and a seller agree upon.
Yeah, because it's all about, supply and demand. Of That's what determines market value. And some people say, well, I want to make sure I leave room for negotiation. Well, guess what? That's what you're going to get, is negotiation. Or I'm wanting to go to a certain price, blah blah blah, a little bit higher. Well, the thing is, studies have shown from time to time again, by overpricing, you're going to sell for less than a marketable value later on down the road. It's going to cost you of trying to go higher, rather than creating that buyer demand and the seller putting himself in top negotiating position on the whole deal.
Right. And so the next piece is buyer psychology in positioning.
Yeah. So we take all these different factors that we have already talked about, is by pricing it well, presenting it well, marketing it well, is now the buyers are seeing that value. And when they see that value, they're going to come out and bring you a strong offer.
Right. They don't want to miss it. They see the value and they're going to jump on it. Versus if it's priced too high, if it's not marketed well, if it's not positioned well, it may be that they never even see it.
Well, exactly, because the thing of it is that the numbers are showing it. There's more buyers out there looking, have been pre-qualified, than they have been this time last year. So they're sitting in there waiting to see, okay, what's coming into market for that value. When they do, they're going to bring that solid, strong offer to the seller to hit that home run.
So in short, positioning, it's just making sure that your home is priced well, it's marketed properly, you're creating that buyer urgency for that specific pool of buyers so that the right buyer will step up and make that solid offer. So that's what positioning is all about. It's a compilation of things. And that's exactly what we did with this seller. Once we repositioned their home, going through all these different items, they all of a sudden had interest, and they had a lot of buyer interest, and we were able to get their home under contract and sold really quickly. And then they were so relieved, and they were able to move on. It was just such a huge stress off of their shoulders.
So the seller went from months of frustrations, no offers, and no communication, to getting their house under contract in a very timely manner to meet their timelines, and they're able to get that stress right off their shoulders.
So if you are considering selling your home in Flower Mound or the surrounding areas, reach out so that we can help you know how to position your home and avoid these costly mistakes.